How have movies influenced you?
I think movies influence how we dress, how we talk, how we interact, the jokes we tell, the inside circles of what we do. And I think they're, in some cases, how we process our anxieties. You know, if you think about the rise of horror films or sci-fi, both of those are dealing with kind of things that are out there and that we're not quite sure about. And, is it safe? And I don't know. And what should I be afraid of? And movies kind of allow you to express all that fear and kind of get it out of your system, and then, in a sense, bottle it up. By the end, oh, the monster's back in place. Oh, the chaos. The planet has been saved for another day. And so it's a way to kind of name the things that are worrying us via the big screen.
How much does Hollywood share our values, and how much do they even affect our social mores?
Hollywood has always impacted our social mores. One scene in It Happened One Night of Clark Gable taking off a shirt and realizing there was no undershirt, they killed the undergarment industry overnight. Now we might see those values and those mores reflected even in, say, Disney princesses, where you think about the different kinds of princesses that we've had in the last decade, where you have everything from, you know, Pocahontas to Moana. There's much more room for different kinds of heroes, even different kinds of fantasies. A film like Encanto opens up the possibilities, right, of what kind of families that we might see, and people's ability to see themselves on screen, I think, allows them to feel seen, heard, appreciated, and empowered. If you look at a film like The Godfather, you could take that and say, I want to be like The Godfather, but you know what? It didn't really work out that well for The Godfather.
Sure. Yeah.
You could take a film like Scarface and say, money, power, drugs, and influence, that looks cool.
Yeah.
Or you could say, you know what? In the end, I think you might end up dead.
Yeah.
And you might die early. And so film both shows you the temptation and why it's appealing, and then a responsible film, I think, also shows you the wages of those choices.
I think it is important, going back to talking about the morality that we might present on screen, I think it's important for a story to have a powerful redemptive arc, that you do have to witness an authentic deprivation. Otherwise, there's not power by the time we get to the redemption by the end. It doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel authentic. And so there is a certain level of truth that may not be fun to watch or good, but may be necessary.
Oh, I think Hollywood does a great job of showing us the appeal of temptation.
Yeah.
And I think a good movie also shows us maybe the cost of those choices. And both those things are true.
Do you think Hollywood can cause social decline?
I think Hollywood both reflects and, in some cases, accelerates social change. They, as a broad democratic medium, they're interested in getting as many people into the movies as possible. So they can't go beyond maybe where audiences want to go.
Yeah.
But in some cases, they've been behind the marketplace. The revolution in the 60s was a little bit ahead of Hollywood, and Hollywood was actually catching up with those social changes probably into the 70s.
Yeah.
And many viewers may have been upset, you know. So we may want movies to take us away from social changes and messy social questions, but filmmakers also have a responsibility to say, here's an issue that we want to raise. We may be not going to resolve it for you, but we're going to invite you to think deeply about something that may be uncomfortable and get you to consider where you stand.
Yeah. What do you think is the number one positive impact that Hollywood has had?
Hollywood's probably greatest export, I would say, is hope. I think the movies generally end with hope, promise, and possibility. And at a time when life can be tough, realities of just economics and jobs and family and getting through.
Yeah.
To just have that sense of like, yeah, it was hard for those characters, but look, they made it through.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm going to make it as well.
What would you consider to be the most negative?
Hollywood has tended to resolve its problems mostly via violence. That gun that shows up will end up being used to resolve things in the end. And so whether it's the Western or the gangster film, we have decided that the quickest way to end a film is usually with a loaded gun. And unfortunately, I think that notion of resolution via violence has been exported all across the globe in a way that now we as America are now having to deal with, in a sense, our own legacy.
How have the values such as freedom of expression here in America influenced other cultures or ourselves?
Well, one of the beauties of the rise of digital formats and is the democratization of cinema. At one point, it was tough to get equipment, to get a studio. And now, in a sense, anyone with a camera can potentially tell their story, even through an iPhone. And it's as that notion, I think, has been distributed around the world, you see the power of the camera to kind of tell the truth about maybe repressive governments or abuse of power or, how we might have mistreated certain people and groups. People might come at them with guns or arms, but if you have a camera, that can be just as powerful.
Yeah.
Well, whether there's that famous image of the person in Beijing, right, standing down on a tank. But the ability for us to capture that with a camera also exports that idea of the power of one person to resist that kind of authoritarian move.
Yeah. As filmmakers, particularly here in America, we appreciate our freedom of speech. What are some of the pros and cons of that freedom?
Well, freedom can be abused when you are more worried about yourself and maybe not thinking about your audience. It's a two-way street, and there's a responsibility to, I think, respect who you're communicating with and treating them with a certain level of care. And so it's not just like, I have the ability to say this, but...
should I say it?
Well, and also, how will it be received?
Yeah.
And is there a different way to say it in a way that invites people into a conversation rather than perhaps cuts others off?
And do we need censorship? Do we need someone telling us the words and the things you're about to show our culture could affect us negatively? Or should we allow the consumer, the viewer, to sort of decide with their ticket buying power, right? I'm not going to see that film because of what I think it's teaching or saying.
Not a big fan of censorship. I don't think it's gone too well in those countries that have tried it, because our innate desire for freedom, for creativity and self-expression can't be contained. It's going to come out on the edges, through the sides. We're going to write stuff down. We're going to take pictures. We're going to make drawings. It doesn't matter what you do to try to contain the human spirit. That creativity cannot be stopped.
This video is inspired by our PBS series, Reconnecting Roots. Connect with me, Gabe McCauley, and Reconnecting Roots by visiting reconnectingroots.com, where you'll discover music, blogs, behind the scenes, our podcast, and more. Join our email list and never miss a beat.